Okay, that's the YouTube stream up and running. Let's get TikTok going. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, sorry, I'm just trying to get the TikTok stream launched, but there's a word limit. That'll do. Okay, so the TikTok stream is now live. Let me just do this. There we go. I was scratching my nose there, by the way. Okay. So, 1 second. There we go. Right. Hello and welcome to the stream. That's it. We'll give it a minute or two for people to join before I explain what's going on today. You will notice that there are two of me on screen right now. That's because I'm sharing my whole screen rather than sharing an individual tab. That's why you can see another me above me, or another me below me. There's another me in both directions, depending on which me you're looking at right now. There won't be two me's for the whole stream. That's the point I'm trying to make. For the peeps says, hope you're doing better since that ruling yesterday. I'm doing okay. For the peeps, I'm doing okay. A very distressing decision, which is going to have big consequences for trans people in the UK. But things aren't going to get better by just moping about. At the end of the day, it's happened. Hopefully, in future things will get a little better for us. But I've got it off my chest. I released a video earlier today. You may have seen the video that I released earlier today. I know for the peeps you commented on it. Thank you very much for your comment. But that video was just a way of me venting my frustrations and getting it off my chest. I don't want to focus too much on that today. That's not the point of this stream. But thank you for the kind words. No, the point of today's stream is that we are going to be watching one of my videos. I've never done this on stream before. It's going to be a very interesting stream, I hope. But what I'm going to be doing, we're going to be watching my latest Peak District video, which came out yesterday. And I'm going to be doing a sort of director's commentary as we watch. I had the idea because when I made the first Peak District video back in March, there was so much stuff that didn't make it into the video. There was so much footage that didn't make it in. There were so many things I wanted to talk about that didn't make it in. So this time I decided, what if the day after I released the video, I do a live stream where we watch the video together, and I can, as the video plays, I can explain why what takes didn't make it in, what footage didn't make it in, things like that, and basically just talk about my editing process and how it all came together. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to try, and that's what we're going to try today. Again, that's why there's two of me on screen right now, because I'm sharing my whole screen rather than an individual window as we do when we're playing a game. But yeah, like I say, we're going to watch the Peak District video. If you haven't already watched it, please do go give it some love. You don't have to go and watch the whole thing right now because it's 20 minutes long, but we're going to be watching it here on stream anyway. But I do just want to say, if you could go and give the video some love, give it, leave a nice comment, heart react, and most importantly, please share it. I don't normally ask people to share my videos specifically. I don't normally specifically say, go and repost that video. But on this occasion, I am going to say it, because my first Peak District video absolutely took off. That video's got 250,000 views, which is insane. That's so much more than anything else I've ever posted. And I really want this video to be as big as that, because I put so much passion and so much effort into that video. So please do go and check it out. You'll be able to tell from the thumbnail which one it is. Do go and check out my latest Peak District video, and please, if you do enjoy the video, consider reposting it, because I really want this video to go as far as the first one did. Thank you, by the way, Ellie Pittman, for the heart me. That's very kind of you. Mason says, why are you on screen twice? The reason I'm on screen twice, Mason, is because I'm sharing my screen right now, but I am going to just get rid of the second me to reveal another second me. There I am again, but this time in a different place and in a different outfit. So let's begin. As I say, the plan is we're going to watch the video. This is the same video that I posted yesterday from my trip to the Peak District. It's 20 minutes and 25 seconds long. But we're going to keep pausing it as we go. And as I say, I'm just going to talk about what made it into the video, what didn't make it into the video, what kind of stuff, how it all came together, basically. If you've ever watched like the DVD commentary, if you ever watched like the director's commentary on a DVD before, that's basically what we're doing here. The only difference is that I'm going to keep pausing the video. Otherwise, there's no way I'll be able to say everything that I want to say in 20 minutes. But that's the plan. So, in just a second, we will get started. Okay, I am gonna have to. Ooh, oh look, it's you guys. You're on screen right now. There's the chat. I want a minute. Okay. I'm trying to shrink the window, but I've accidentally made it much bigger. There we go. Okay. So I'm just trying to resize the chat so that it's not over the time bar. Because, like I say, I'm going to have to keep jumping around in the video. We might have to fast forward and rewind and stuff like that as we go. But that should be fine. So, without any further ado, we are going to get into it. I would like to just say, if you want to ask any questions during the stream, please do. I'm going to be talking about how I edited the video and how it all came together. But if you want to ask me any specific questions about certain decisions, about certain shots and stuff like that, ask me questions about the walk and about the places that I visited that day, by all means, please do. I'm going to be talking about that kind of stuff anyway. But yeah, if you want to ask me anything as we go, feel free. But we're going to get straight into it. So without further ado, here is the Castleton Peak District video. Let's go. Hi everyone, it's Saul, and today I am once again back in the Peak District. Hi everyone, it's Saul, and today I am once again back in the Peak District, where this time we're picking things up right where we left off in the last video, in Castleton. Okay, so first thing I want to say, Alfie says you should upload these to YouTube. They'll do well. They are actually on YouTube, Alfie. If you head to my YouTube channel right now, you can find both of my Peak District videos. I've made a playlist especially for them. Almost all of my videos on YouTube that I post on TikTok are also on YouTube. There's a few exceptions. There's a few videos that I only post on TikTok, but most of them go up on YouTube as well. Hey, Alistair, welcome to the stream, and hi, Ob, as well. It's nice to have you both here. So yeah, the first thing that I want to say, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on the chat, but if you look right in the top left corner of the screen there, this video is actually called Castleton Shorter. So the first edit of the video was 20 minutes and 40 seconds long. I actually managed to trim down 15 seconds of it for the final cut, because I did the first pass, like the first edit, really, and the pacing just felt a little bit awkward in places. There were a few takes where it kind of lingered on a certain shot for too long, or I stopped speaking and then there were just a few seconds of silence. So I went back and cut a few clips down a little bit more just to tighten it up a little bit. So there is a version of this video which is 15 seconds longer than the final version, and it's literally 15 seconds of nothing, just 15 seconds of dead silence, basically spread out across the video. But yeah, there is a very slightly longer version of this video that's not out there in the world, but it is on my computer. How are you, said Alistair Moore. I'm good, Alistair. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for following, Alfie. So let's get back into it again. Another thing I want to point out is you can see it behind me there. The weather is not very sunny at the beginning of the video.
Hi everyone, it's Saul, and today I am.
You can see a tiny bit of blue sky there.
The Peak District, where this time we're picking things up right where we left off in the last video. In Castleton.
But if you look behind me there, yeah, it does look a little bit miserable, actually. You can see there's a bit of a grey rain cloud there. So I check the weather forecast well in advance of these videos. Obviously, I don't want to go to the Peak District and have it be pouring with rain, right? So I always check the weather forecast well in advance. I make sure it's going to be a nice day before I go. And on this occasion, I did check the weather forecast, and it was going to be a nice day. And then I woke up that morning, and it was miserable. It was a miserable morning. And I was really worried. I thought, right, I've already booked the train tickets. I can't cancel. I have to go today. But it's going to be raining, isn't it? And I got there, and I thought, you know, maybe by the time I get there, it'll get sunny again. And I got there, and it was like this. It was like just starting to cheer up a bit. But at this point, I still thought it was just going to be like this all day, and the sun wasn't really going to get out. Fortunately, it did. You'll see later in the video, it turned out to be a really hot day, actually. But yeah, when I got there, I really did think it was going to be miserable. I actually did a few takes of this first shot. I did this first shot of me like introducing the video. I did like 3 or 4 different takes of that. And in the first couple of takes, I was actually wearing my jacket because it was really cold. But then it got just warm enough that I thought, you know what, we'll do it without the jacket, and hopefully I won't have to wear my jacket at all. I did end up wearing my jacket later on, but fortunately, we got off to a pretty decent start.
Hey everyone, it's Saul, and today I am once again back in the Peak District, where this time we're picking things up right where we left off in the last video, in Castleton.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. So, as you may recall, at the end of the last video, I paid a quick visit to Castleton to kill some time after I missed my bus home from Hathersage. You can see again in that clip, especially that clip. Visit to Castleton to kill some time after I missed my bus home from. So this here, where my mouse is hovering at the minute, that's Mamtor. that's the hill that I climbed in this video, and you can see in this clip it's literally in the cloud. And I was just thinking to myself, oh my god, please don't let it be like this when I get to the top. I was like hoping and praying that it was going to clear up, and thankfully it did. But you can see here, it was not a great start to the day.
Hathersage. I couldn't go too far though, having just finished a lengthy walk along Stanage
Hi,
Edge,
Steph.
so I decided that the sights of Castleton would be best left for my next video. And here we are.
And look on this clip. Look, you can see the rays, the sun rays. What's the word for that? Water spouts. You can see the water spouts coming down through the clouds. It really did look like it was just going to start raining, and it was so fortunate that it didn't. Good. What about you? Says Steph. I'm pretty good, Steph. I'm pretty good. If you've just joined, by the way, this stream is sort of a director's commentary of my recent Peak District video, which you can go and check out on my channel. I just posted it yesterday, but today I'm sort of giving you a bit of a behind the scenes of the video. Also, in this clip here, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there the Hope Cement Works, which is going to get mentioned later on in the stream as well. There was quite a lot that I wanted to talk about with regards to the cement works, but I didn't really get a chance. You'll see as we go.
So, without further ado, let's take a look at today's route. So we're starting today's walk from the bus station in Castleton and heading west along Old Mamtor Road to Odin Mine. From there we'll ascend to the summit of Mamtor along the route of the former A625.
By the way, these graphics of the map with the route being overlaid, this is just Google Earth. I just went into Google Earth, took some screenshots of the area that I was walking in, and then using some drawing software, I just drew the line on and then animated it so that the line appears.
Mamtor
very simple stuff. Nothing really complicated here, editing wise.
An end of Great Ridge, which we'll follow for about 2 miles to Backtor and Lewes Hill. From there, we begin our descent to Lewes Hill Lane, then Edale Road, and finally into the village of Hope. To complete our journey, we'll follow a small footpath which runs alongside Peaks Hole Water, taking us back to Castleton.
So yeah, this is the full route that I walked that day. You can see I actually started and ended in the same place this time. I walked around in a big circle. I actually calculated that to walk from Castleton all the way round to Hope, it was exactly the same length as the walk that I took last time when I went to Stanage Edge. So if I'd have finished the walk at Hope and gone back from there, that would have been... I would have walked the exact same distance as I walked last time, but I didn't want to walk the exact same distance as last time. I wanted to go one better. You know, I wanted to one up myself from last time. So I thought, well, I'll go back to Castleton at the end, and then I've walked a complete circle, and that added like an extra 1.5 miles onto the journey, which I was quite honestly I was quite proud of myself for how far I walked that day. You'll see exactly how far I walked later on. Well done on the 6k followers, says Scotty Dog. Thank you so much, Scotty Dog. It's very kind of you. Okay, let's continue.
All in all, today's walk is about 13.25 kilometres, or a bit over 8 miles, with the highest point being 517 metres at the summit of Mamtor, and the lowest being about 170 metres in Hope.
Okay, so there you can see the estimated length of the walk was 13.25 kilometres. Oop. Hold on a sec.
Castleton. All in all, today's walk is about
Hi, says Paperboy. How you doing, Paperboy?
Kilometres, or a bit over 8.
Yeah, so the walk, the planned walk was 13.25 kilometres, or 8.2 miles. Obviously, that's just a rough estimate based on the route that I was taking, and I did end up actually walking quite a lot further than that because of events that happened later in the video, which you'll see when we get there. But the walk that just appeared, this circular route here,
to complete our journey, we'll follow a small footpath which runs alongside Peaks Hole Water.
That's 13.25 kilometres. That's about an 8 mile walk. And that's the walk that I planned to do.
All in all, today's walk is about 13.25 kilometres, or a bit over 8 miles, with the highest point being 517 metres at the summit of Mam Tor, and the lowest being about 170 metres in Hope.
And I just used Google Maps to get the Google Earth, to get the information for the low point. The high point was easy because Mam Tor has a triangulation point at the top that tells you how far above sea level it is. So 517 meters is the precise amount above sea level. But the low point, I just used Google Earth and tried to find a rough estimate of the lowest point of the journey. So that's where the 170 comes from there. What's AMA, says Paperboy? AMA is short for Ask Me Anything. Today, ideally, if you want to ask me questions about the video, that would be nice. But you can ask me whatever you like. Looking good, says G. Boquette, or J. Boquette. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Okay, moving on. Along the way, I will of course be sharing some interesting facts about the various landmarks we pass, and what better way to start than with the crushing wheel and surface workings of Odin Mine.
So I'm currently at the Odin Mine Stone Circle, and hopefully future Saul will have some interesting facts to share with you about this area. Right now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and take my first break of the day.
I'm just noticing as well, on this clip especially, it probably happens in later clips as well, but on this clip, the sound is constantly shifting between speakers on my mic. Like, it sounds like I'm standing in front of myself and just moving from side to side. It won't come across if you're listening without headphones, but if you listen to the video with headphones, yeah, you're probably going to hear that the audio balancing from left to right is not perfect in places.
Facts to share with you about this area. Right now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and take my first break of the day.
Bax says, I love this video, bit of me. Thanks very much, Bax. I'm glad you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you'll enjoy learning more about the behind-the-scenes stuff as well as we go. Thanks for following James Blay. That's very kind of you. Do you drive, says Snap, Crackle and Pop. I don't drive, Snap, Crackle and Pop. Speaking of transportation, to get to the Peak District, I normally travel by bus and train. So I live in Doncaster. Obviously, trains from Doncaster to Sheffield are very frequent. And if you're travelling from Sheffield into the Peak District, there's a bus, the number 272 goes from Sheffield right into Castleton, which is like right at the heart of the Peak District. And it's only £3 a ticket because that's like the standard single fare price on buses in the UK. So that's the great thing about the Peak District, especially as someone who lives really nearby. It's so quick, cheap, and easy to get there. Like, you don't really need to do much planning, or I don't really need to do much planning. I could just get up one day and say, oh, it's a nice day, I might go to the Peak District today, which is incredible. And that, no matter where you live in the UK, there will be somewhere near you that you can get to really easily. But for me, it's the Peak District. Thanks for following, everyone, by the way. We've got Choylog5, Anakin Taylor, and Paperboy GW, and also Bax. Very kind of you all. Thanks for the heart me as well, Zeno. Paperboy GW says, oh, you're not serious. Okay, well, thanks for joining. Okay, let's continue with the video then.
Now, there have been many mines in Castleton over the years, and the area is most famous for a mineral called Blue John, a type of fluorite with purple and yellow bands which isn't found anywhere else on Earth.
Now, this is something that I really wanted to talk about more. Bumtickle says, have you ever been to the Cotswolds? I haven't, actually. Bumtickle, no, never been to the Cotswolds. Obviously, an outstanding natural area in the UK. And maybe at one point in the future I might go. I do plan to do more of these videos, not just in the Peak District, but beyond as well. So I can definitely see myself going to the Lake District or the Cotswolds or, Snowdonia and all things, all sorts of other places. So I haven't been before, but maybe maybe one day, and maybe I'll make a video about it as well. Okay, Luna says hi. Hi, Luna. Shoylog says, that looks really cool. Yes, so this is Blue John. I'll tell you about it in just a moment. Ava Jones says, Snowdonia is lovely. Yeah, I definitely want to go to Snowdonia because I want to do the Three Peaks Challenge. Well, not the actual Three Peaks Challenge. The actual Three Peaks Challenge is to do Snowdon, Ben Nevis, and Scarfell Pike all in 48 hours. Obviously, I'm not going to try to actually do them in 48 hours, but I do want to go to like the 3 highest mountains in the UK at some point, and obviously Snowdon is the highest in Wales. Annika Taylor says, can you post a photo of what you looked like before? There's plenty of photos on my TikTok of what I looked like before. I've spoken many times in past videos about my pre-transition self. They're not too hard to find if you want to go and take a look back at some of my older videos. But getting back to this, so yeah, this is Blue John, and this is one thing that I really wish I could have talked about more in the video, because Castleton, there are currently I think 2 active Blue John mines in Castleton, but there have been dozens of mines in Castleton over the years. And a lot of them did mine this mineral called Blue John. There's even a cave. There's even a cavern that still exists called Blue John Cavern, which I got a little bit of footage of the visitors' entrance to the cavern that didn't make it into the final cut. But I really wish that I could have spoken more about mining in Castleton because it's such an important part of the town's history. I touched upon it a little bit here, talking about Odin Mine, which was a lead mine. But yeah, I really wish I could have talked more about mining, and specifically about the Blue John mining in the area. I wish I could have talked more about the caves in general as well. I do touch about them a little bit later, but I would have loved to have talked more about the caves in Castleton because it has like one of the most extensive cave systems in the country. Choylog says, is it just a variation of fluorite? It is a variation of fluorite, yes, but it's a very unique variation. There are similar looking fluorites elsewhere in the world, but there's nowhere else in the world will you find fluorite with the exact pattern that Blue John has. So this particular pattern is unique to Castleton in Derbyshire, which is incredible. Anyway, let's continue. However, the town also has a long history of lead mining, which brings us to let's just rewind a little bit.
Type of Castleton over the
about this area. Right now, I'm just going to sit here for a minute and take my first break of the day.
Now, there have been many mines in Castleton over the years, and the area is most famous for a mineral called Blue John, a type of fluorite with purple and yellow bands which isn't found anywhere else on Earth. However, the town also has a long history of lead mining, which brings us to Odin Mine. Odin Mine is not only one of the oldest lead mines in the country, it's also the single oldest mine of any kind in Derbyshire, with workings going back.
I'm going to pause there because that was a pretty big chunk of information
in Derbyshire.
Just there. So this is Odin Mine. If you go to Castleton and you want to go up to the top of Mam Tor, you will most likely take the same route that I did, which means you will pass by Odin Mine. And as I mentioned here, Odin Mine is the oldest mine in Derbyshire and one of the oldest lead mines in the country. Lead mining was very big in Castleton. It's not mined there anymore, but there were, again, dozens of lead mines in this area. And Odin Mine is perhaps the most striking of them in terms of its appearance. The rest of them are pretty much just holes in the ground today, but this one actually has a little bit more going for it.
With workings going back as far as
and there's a little information plaque that's sort of at the gate, at the entrance to the mine, that tells you, there's a QR code there. I didn't actually scan that QR code. But as it says here, you can find out more about the restoration work that they're doing. They're currently doing a bit of restoration to the site.
13th century. Initially, the mine was open cast, but
Another thing I want to really quickly point out, this shot might look familiar.
once the surface lead had been exhausted, miners followed.
And the reason that shot looks familiar is because I used the exact same shot,
which brings us to Odin Mine.
Seconds earlier.
Odin Mine is not only one of the oldest lead mines in the country.
And when I say the exact same shot, I don't mean I recorded the same thing twice. I mean this is the same clip. I will do this sometimes in my videos. If I don't quite have the footage that I need for a certain moment, I'll just use the same clip twice. And I unfortunately had to do that here. I didn't quite get as much footage of the mine as I wanted to. So this shot of me walking towards the mine, I just used it again a few seconds later.
To Odin Mine. Odin Mine is not only one of the
There's
oldest
the first
lead
one.
mines in the country, it's also the single oldest mine of any kind in Derbyshire, with workings going back as far as the 13th century. Initially,
And there's
the
the
mine
second
was
one.
open cast, but once the surface lead had been exhausted,
Exact same shot.
miners followed the vein underground, eventually creating a complex network of tunnels some 1,500 metres in length. What appears today to be a natural ravine is actually a man-made excavation and houses the entrance to the underground portion of the mine.
This is interesting as well. This genuinely, I didn't know this beforehand. I do a little bit of research before I go, and I do a little bit of research after I go when I'm working on the actual video. But I had no idea that this little crevice here in the rock, that's not natural. And it looks perfectly natural. It looks like this is just, erosion or whatever. But this was actually part of the mine. So the miners actually dug into the rock and created this, very natural looking ravine. And then the actual underground section of the mine is, way at the back of the ravine section. Which, again, I had no idea. I genuinely thought this was a completely natural formation.
The crushing wheel, which makes use of gritstone quarried in the area, was installed in 1823 at a cost of £40, around £4,000 today.
This shocked me a little bit as well. So in the last video, in the Stanage Edge video, I talked about how these crushing wheels were manufactured right here in the Peak District because of the type of rock that the Peak District is made of. Is really abrasive. It's got really good frictional properties, and so it's a really good material to use for grinding wheels and millstones and stuff like that. And you can see here at Odin Mine, they had one of these wheels which they used to grind lead ore that was mined out from the mine, and the wheel cost £40 in 1823. And I imagined that if I put that into an inflation calculator, it was going to be 10-20 grand in today's money. I was actually really shocked to find out that £40 in 1823 is only £4,000 today. It really felt like it'd be a lot more. But I did use the official inflation calculator from the Bank of England. And yeah, apparently £40 from nearly 200 years ago is only £4,000 today.
Quarried in the area was installed in 1823 at a cost of £40, around £4,000 today.
Spring says you sound like Stampy Longnose. Thanks, Spring. I've been told that before. Big fan of Stampy. Well, I don't really watch him, but I did watch him a lot when I was younger. Big fan.
There we go, the weather has finally come good. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a miserable day, but the sun is finally out, which means we got climbing to do.
So this was a little bit of a holdover from earlier in the video. I mentioned that when I first got there on the day, it was quite cold and dreary, and I thought it was going to be a really miserable day. And then as the sun came out, I thought I'd record this clip.
That it was going to be a miserable day.
£4,000 today.
Hold on.
There we go, the weather has finally come good. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a miserable day.
So that, if you, in the final video, this clip might seem a little bit out of place because I don't actually mention the weather being bad before this. But but it was a good clip, so I wanted to put it in there anyway, and it still kind of makes sense within the context of the video, because you can see, even though I don't explicitly say it, you can see at the beginning of the video that the weather is quite miserable, and you can see now that it clears up later on. So I feel like this clip still works. Is that DVD player? This is just Windows Media Player. Jinxie says, what did you think of Castleton? I loved Castleton, Jinxie. I have visited Castleton so many times. You know, as a kid, I used to go here all the time on the weekends with my sister. Fantastic memories. Really, really love Castleton. Fantastic place. And I'm really glad that I did this video on Castleton, because it is just an amazing place, and it's amazing to be able to talk about it. What's there? Keep watching and you'll find out. So we've already paid a visit to Odin Mine, the oldest lead mine in Derbyshire, and next up,
finally out, which means we got climbing to do.
We're going to the top of Mam Tor there, and as you can see, it's still looking a little bit cloudy on the top of Mam Tor, but at this point the sun was starting to come out, so I kind of knew, you know, by the time I got to the top it was going to be nice and sunny, and fortunately it was. But that's where we're going. And this is something that I didn't really do too much in the last video. I sort of tried to take this in a little bit of a different direction. In the previous video, when I went to Stanage Edge, I was talking for most of the video. I didn't really want to have too much... I didn't want to really have too much dead air, too much footage where there was no speaking. But with this one, I decided to embrace it a little bit more. I didn't want it to be overkill, but I thought, you know, it might be interesting if every now and then there's just a gap where there's no voiceover and you can just appreciate the, you know, you can just appreciate the natural environment. So that's what this is all about, really. That's why there's a few clips where I'm just not speaking. And you can hear birds, you can hear my footsteps, and in a few of the clips you can hear wind as well, because it was quite windy, and my phone camera always picks up wind and amplifies it so much. I actually had to turn the volume down on the clip. This next clip here. In the original recording, it was like 3 times as loud as that. I had to turn that audio down so much. And the weird thing is, the wind didn't sound that loud on the day. It never does. It wasn't that windy really, but my phone camera just picks up the slightest breeze and amplifies the volume 50 times, and it just sounds deafeningly loud in the actual video. But it didn't sound, it wasn't that windy. It was not as windy as it sounds here.
Okay, I'm currently walking along what remains of the A625, and we don't actually need Future Soul for this one, because I already know a thing or two about this road.
So this was an interesting bit. In the last video, I kind of felt a little bit conscious of the fact that most of the recording that I did on the day, I was just talking about the walk. Like, I was doing clips where I was like, oh, I've been walking for half an hour, I'm going to stop for my lunch now, or I've you know, I'm about a few miles into the walk. And it kind of felt like all the history and stuff like that was an afterthought. Like all the talking about the history of the area and the geography of the Peak District and stuff like that. It kind of felt like all of that was an afterthought. So this time I wanted to actually speak about the history of the area while I was there. It just felt a little bit more authentic if I actually talked about the landmarks and stuff like that as I was walking. So it didn't feel like I'd just thrown that in afterwards. So that's why I'm actually talking about the road while I'm walking on it this time. Is that a motorway? Says at. It isn't a motorway. If I rewind a little bit and let past me explain.
A thing or two about this road. So the A625 was once a major through road between Sheffield and Manchester, and as you can see, it snakes its way up the southern side of Mam Tor.
You can see there as well. Very, very slight mistake on my part there. This is the risk that you run when you talk about when you decide to record stuff like this on the day. Sometimes you'll slip up a little bit, and on this occasion I did accidentally say that the road went to Manchester, which it doesn't. It went as far as Chapel on the Frith, and then the A6 went to Manchester. That was a little bit of a mistake. I didn't want to leave the mistake in because I didn't want to tell people something that wasn't true. So I just put this little note in to explain that was just a slip of the tongue, basically. So the road went from Sheffield to Chapel on the Frith.
Of Mam Tor. Unfortunately, because Mam Tor is very prone to landslides, the road was closed several times for repairs, and each time the repairs were more and more costly. Eventually, by the end of the 70s, they decided to just close the road completely and route traffic through nearby Winnett's Pass. The road has remained abandoned ever since, showing you just what 50 years of Mother Nature can do.
Okay, so I made two very slight mistakes here that I didn't correct because they weren't really serious enough to be corrected. The first thing is, I mentioned that the road was closed in the late 70s, but I didn't specifically say 1979, which in a like 30 seconds time there's another clip where I do say 1979, so I thought, well, it doesn't really matter because I mentioned 1979 later on. But yeah, in this particular clip I just said late 70s, and then I also said that the road had been abandoned for 50 years, when in reality obviously it closed in 1979, so the road has been abandoned for about 45 years. That did not seem like a big enough mistake to really need correcting, though. 45 years, 50 years, it's not really even worth mentioning. But it was a very slight mistake. The road hasn't been abandoned for 50 years, it's been abandoned for 45 years. And this is what it looks like today. You can walk along it. Obviously, it's an abandoned road, so it doesn't get any maintenance or upkeep from the local council or anything like that. But these rock layers here, that's asphalt. This is a proper tarmacked road that has just been left to the elements, and has completely collapsed because of how many landslides there are in the area. Like, look at this. It's looking at it, it's crazy to think that this actually was a road. Like, people drove their cars on this road, and look at it now. It's got these huge gashes of, huge cracks in the road where it's just completely collapsed. And as I say in the video, this started way back in like the 50s. The road just kept completely collapsing, and they had to close it every few years to fix it back up again. And then a few years later, it would just collapse again, which is why in the end they said, you know what, let's just close the road forever and not even try anymore, which is why it looks like this today. One other thing is, there were a few things that I wanted to mention about the A625, which I didn't get a chance to. If we just rewind a little bit here.
Its way up the southern side of Mam Tor about this road.
A little bit more.
Okay, I'm currently walking.
I want the thing. I want the road number. There we go. Okay, so yeah, there were a few things that I wanted to mention about the A625 because the A625 does actually still exist, but not in the capacity that it used to. So the original A625, it started in Sheffield and it ran west to Chapel on the Frith, and this portion that I'm walking on here in the video is the abandoned portion. But the rest of the road wasn't abandoned. The section between Sheffield and Castleton still exists, and actually, if you travel to Castleton by bus, the number 272 bus, it drives along that same route. So that hasn't changed. That most of the road still exists today. It's only the portion from Castleton to Chapel on the Frith which has been abandoned. And then the second thing is, the section from Castleton to Fox House still exists, but it isn't called the A625 anymore. It's been renumbered. I think it's called like the 6319 or something like that. I don't know the exact number. So, of the original A625, you've got the section between Sheffield and Fox House, which is still called the A625. You got the section between Fox House and Castleton, which has been given a different number. And then you've got the section from Castleton to Chapel on the Frith, which is the abandoned section that I'm walking on in the video. And then to confuse things even further, there has been an extension of the road from Fox House down to Grindleford. So now the original A625 from Fox House to Castleton has a different number, and then there's been a new road from Fox House to Grindleford, which is now called the A625. Obviously, I didn't mention any of this in the actual video because it would have taken 10 fucking minutes to explain. It's so needlessly complicated. But I wanted to explain it now just because it was something that I was considering putting in the video, and it just wouldn't have worked. I could not have fit all of that into the video in a concise, clear way. But just to reiterate, the original A625 went from Sheffield to Chapel on the Frith. The part from Sheffield to Castleton, the part from Sheffield to Fox House is still called the A625, as well as an extension of that road down to Grindleford. The section from Fox House to Castleton still exists, but has a different number, and the section from Castleton to Chapel on the Frith is the abandoned section that I'm on here right now. Are we all on the same page there? By the way, thank you for following. Dixie Enormous, great name, and Teddy and Tilly, thank you very much. Jackson says, how do you know all this? Because I do a lot of research for these videos. I do actually, I try to make sure when I'm making these videos that I have, that I know as much about the area as possible, both before I go and after the trip. Because the whole point of these videos is to be educational, right? The whole point of this video is for me to tell you about the area that I'm walking, to tell you about the history, to tell you about the geography and stuff like that. So it's very important that I know what I'm talking about, right? So I do make sure that I do as much research as I can before I go on the walk. Okay? So, getting back to it.
2-5.
Now you know...
future saw for this one, because I already know a thing or two about this.
Hold on. Now you know an unnecessary amount of information about the A625. Let's carry on. What does AMA mean, says C. John? AMA is short for Ask Me Anything.
So the A625 was once a major...
Preferably related to the video on this particular occasion.
And as you can see, it snakes its way up the southern side of Mam Tor. Unfortunately, because Mam Tor is very...
One more very small thing.
The road was closed several times. Mam Tor.
Very small thing. But there's a
major through road between Sheffield and Manchester, and as you can see,
there's a moment here where I pan the camera around and say, as you can see, the road goes up the side of Mam Tor. But in the shot, you can't see the road at all. So there's me saying, as you can see, and you can't see it at all. You cannot see what I'm saying you can see. But the road is there. It just isn't visible in the shot. The road does go all the way up the side of the hill there. But yeah, I just thought that was funny, that in the video I say, as you can see, and then point at nothing.
It snakes its way up the southern side of Mam Tor. Unfortunately, because Mam Tor is very prone to landslides, the road...
hello, you look good today, says STFC. Thanks very much, STFC. C. John says, "Is a tor a bundle of rocks?" Yes and no, C. John. So there are two definitions of the word tor. One of them just means hill, and as in the Peak District particularly, you'll notice there's a lot of hills that have tor in the name, like Mam Tor, Back Tor, Higa Tor. In that case, tor just means hill. But tor also does mean a certain rock pillar formation. And there's a few of those kind of tors in the Peak District as well. So the word tor can have two meanings. It can mean just a hill, or it can mean a specific rock formation where you've got a pile, like a vertical pile of rocks. In this instance, it's referring to a hill specifically.
Time the repairs were more and more costly. Eventually, by
that was a good vlog, says STFC. Thank you very much, STFC.
Close the road completely and route traffic through nearby Winnett's Pass. The road has remained abandoned ever since, showing you just what 50 years of Mother Nature can do.
And there's the road again. Like I say, completely abandoned for 45 years. Really steep as well. I don't know how much I don't know how much the landslides have affected the gradient of the road. Like I don't know how steep the road was back when it was open, but you can see from this shot here, that's very steep. I can't imagine driving a car up this road, even if it was still in a drivable condition, which it isn't. But yeah, very steep road. Very, very steep. Jackson says, "I didn't notice any errors till you said." Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to point out my own errors because they bug me, and I won't rest until I've told you about all the mistakes that I made in my own video.
I can't help but wonder what might have happened if they hadn't decided to close the road in 1979. How much longer could they have kept repairing it before they abandoned all hope? Could it still be open to this day? Probably not. Okay, here's the view so far. We're still nowhere near the top, really. But even from here, you can get a great view. We've still got all that to do yet.
This is a brilliant shot. This is an absolutely fantastic shot. I was actually considering using this shot as the thumbnail for the video. I ended up using Back Tor instead, but this, I just really love this shot. I love how Mam Tor looks in general. It's got such a unique appearance because of the landslides. If you look at it from like aerial photos, it looks like a giant spoonful has been taken out of the side of it, which is it's really incredible. It's just such a distinct appearance. And yeah, I just thought this was a really fantastic shot. But it didn't end up making the thumbnail, unfortunately.
We've got all that to do yet.
So as we approach the summit of Mam Tor, now is probably a good time for me to tell you more about it. The hill, whose name means Mother Hill, dominates the landscape down in Castleton.
Okay, so here you can see, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the word tor
dominates the landscape.
The word tor in this instance means hill. So Mam Tor, obviously Mam means mother, and Tor in this instance means hill. So Mam Tor is Mother Hill. I didn't mention in the video, but the reason it's called Mother Hill is because of the landslides. So because of all these landslides, it made like lots of little hills in front of Mam Tor. So that's why the hill's called Mam Tor, because it's the mother and the landslide hills are its kids, essentially. Really, really interesting little fact that unfortunately I didn't put in the video. But yeah, that's why the hill is called Mam Tor. PTBB says, "What do you think of yesterday's Supreme Court hearing? Sorry if you don't want to talk about it." I have made a video about it, PTBB, if you want to go and check that out. I don't really want to talk about it on stream, because I want this to be a nice, happy stream, you know, talking about the video. But I did make a little bit of a video earlier today, just sort of venting and sharing my thoughts on that. So please do go and check that out. But back to this video.
down in Castleton, and as mentioned earlier, frequent landslides caused by
this shot. This shot. This is another example of me not having the specific shot that I wanted. So when you don't have the footage that you want, there's three things that you can do. One, you can reuse some footage from earlier in the video, which is what I did back at Odin Mine. I used the same shot of me walking towards the mine because I didn't have anything else to fill the space. The second option we'll talk about later, and the third option is to use a completely unrelated shot. So that's what I did here. This shot of the sheep has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But I didn't have anything else to put here, so there's just this completely random shot of some sheep.
More about it. The hill, whose name means Mother Hill, dominates the landscape down in Castleton, and as mentioned earlier, frequent landslides caused by loose shale have given the hill...
There was no reason for that shot to be there. DVD Clipper says, check this guy's hard drive. If you checked my hard drive, DVD Clipper, all you would find is hours and hours of raw footage of me going to the Peak District. I captured almost an hour's worth of footage on this particular occasion. Literally, I actually do have an external hard drive, and it's completely full of footage from my videos. I have like backups of every video that I've ever made on TikTok. But back to this video.
Its iconic look.
And there again, you can see again. I didn't really get a particularly great shot of the landslide area of the hill. You can sort of see it here. You can see how it sort of ends in an abrupt cliff, and this whole area down here is where all the land has slid away.
Atop the hill are the remains of a late Bronze Age hill fort, and as we'll see later, various artifacts from the site are displayed along the side of the footpath.
Jackson Kane says, not on topic, but you play GTA? I do, Jackson, yes. I don't stream it, and I don't think it's really the sort of game I'd enjoy streaming, but I do play GTA. Something I want to mention here is you will notice throughout the video that sometimes I will misspeak, and I'll put some text on screen to clarify what I'm saying. And normally I only do this over footage that I captured on the day. So earlier on when I was talking about the A625, I accidentally said that the road went to Manchester, which is why I put a text note on screen to explain the discrepancy there. This is the only time in the video where I put in a text note of the voiceover. Because I just didn't want to record the voiceover again. So if you listen here, you can tell that this is a voiceover section.
Slides caused by loose shale have given the hill its iconic look. Atop the hill are the remains of a late Bronze Age hill fort, and as we'll see later, various artifacts from the site are displayed along the side of the footpath.
So that was voiceover, and in the voiceover clip, I say that there are artifacts from the Bronze Age on display on the hill. That's not actually true. The items on display are replicas, but I didn't want to re-record that audio clip, so I just added a text note instead. So that's why this particular text note's here. Yes, the artifacts along the trail are not the originals. Obviously, the originals are locked away somewhere. Some of them might be on display in museums, some of them might be in research institutes being studied by archaeologists or whatever, but obviously they didn't put the actual excavated Bronze Age artifacts just on display out in the open in the middle of the Peak District. They are replicas. Alfie says, how long do these videos take you to make? This one actually was the quickest turnaround I've ever done for a video of this size. So the first Peak District video, when I went to Stanage Edge, it took me a week to put it together. Obviously not like, I wasn't like working 24/7 on the video, but I went to the Peak District on the Wednesday, and then I posted the video the following Thursday. And I was working right up to the last minute on it, so I did work for about a week on and off on that video. Whereas this one, I went to the Peak District last Wednesday, and the video was finished by Saturday. Completely finished. I didn't post it on Saturday because nobody watches videos on a Saturday. Wednesday's the best day of the week to post on TikTok if you want to try and maximize your viewer potential. So I waited until Wednesday to post the video, but I finished it in 3 days. It took me 3 days to edit this one together. I was really, really committed to getting this one done as soon as possible, but without rushing it. And I feel like I achieved that. It doesn't feel rushed at all. It does feel like I've put a lot of time and effort into it, even though I whipped it up quite quickly. There's another wind shot for you. Oh, there's a little bit of a visual glitch there. I don't know if that was just the playback. Okay, I think that might have just been the playback. Hopefully that didn't make it into the final video. There was just one, it like skipped a frame there. Okay, I think it might actually. Let me just watch that one more time. If this made it into the final video, I'm not going to be happy. Hang on a minute. I can't tell. If I can't tell, then it probably doesn't matter. But it looks like it skips forward a tiny bit. It looks like there's just a couple of frames missing in the middle of that sweeping shot. It's too late to do anything about it now. but yeah, it just feels like there were some frames missing there. Fanta says, are these your YouTube videos? Yes, so this is my latest Peak District video, which I posted yesterday. You can see it on TikTok or on YouTube, wherever you want to view it. Please do go and give the TikTok version some love, because I would really like for this video to have the same success that my first Peak District video had. So, you know, if you're watching this and you haven't already, please do go and check out the video, give it a follow, give it a like, sorry, share it, repost it, whatever. But I am reacting to it right now and doing a sort of director's commentary kind of thing. When did you hit 6K, says Alfie? Yesterday. I hit 6K yesterday. And thank you very much, everyone who helped me get to 6K. I'm really, really happy that we finally made it. Continuing with the video.
Okay,
Thanks for following,
we're getting
Fanta.
near to the top of Mam Tor now, and I am exhausted. This is definitely a much steeper climb than anything I did on my last trip. But we're nearly there, and when we're at the top, I think I'll take a bit of a break.
This wasn't acting, by the way. I was genuinely really tired out by the time. Like, it wasn't a really good sign, because I was only like 10% of my way through the walk. This was I'd only been walking for about half an hour, but the walk so far had been so steep. Like I'd gone up such a steep gradient that I was already completely shattered by this point. Fortunately, once we got to the top of Mam Tor, it kind of leveled out and it was mostly downhill from that point. But I was a little bit worried at this point. Like, I've only been walking for 45 minutes and I'm already completely fucking knackered. But yeah, that's so I wasn't acting in this clip. I was genuinely really exhausted.
A much steeper climb than anything I did on my last trip. But we're nearly there, and when we're at the top, I think I'll take a bit of a break.
So these are the replica artifacts, by the way. This one is a segment of a pot, and this one is a miniature replica of a plough. There are actually 6 artifacts along the trail, and I didn't realise this until afterwards. I didn't know how many there were, so I only took 2 photos. Like, I saw the first one, and I thought, I'll take a photo of that. And then I walked past like a couple more, And then I took another photo, and I thought, you know, these are probably going to continue all the way along the trail, so I'll just take a few pictures as we go. And then when I got back home, I realized there were only 6 of them. I could have quite easily just taken 6 photos. I could have taken a photo of every single one, and I regret that I only took photos of 2 of them. But it was, you know, it was too late to do anything about it. So there are 6 artifacts on the trail. I only got photos of 2, but there's also a bracelet. There's I think a horseshoe. There's a couple more things, but yeah, I only got photos of the plough and the pot. Alfie says, "Are you going to do a video on hitting 6K?" I technically did, Alfie. The video that I posted this morning, I did mention that I'd hit 6K, and I did say thank you in that video for hitting 6K. Obviously, the video was about something else, but I did just mention it out. I did just mention it there. I feel sorry that you have to live in the UK, says Lillian. Thank you for your sympathy, Lillian. In all honesty, you know, things are pretty bad right now. But I'm very lucky that I, you know, have a very supportive network around me. So I'm going to try not to let it get to me. Jackson says, "Is there a pickaxe?" I'm not sure if there's a pickaxe along the trail. I can't honestly remember, but there may be. But yeah, like I say, I only got photos of the pot and the plough here.
And at last I arrived at the summit of Mam Tor, which, as you can see, was incredibly busy. So many people out enjoying the sun, and at 517 metres above sea level, this trig point marks the highest point of today's journey.
Great. This was a great photo as well. I'm not like making any claims to be a professional photographer. But I'm genuinely really proud of this photo. This is an absolutely fantastic photo of the triangulation pillar on top of Mam Tor. So the Mam Tor was very busy. Mam Tor is always busy. I just want to, you know, if you plan on visiting the Peak District, if you plan on going to Mam Tor specifically, it is always busy. Like first thing in the morning till last thing at night, it is busy. Obviously, I don't like recording other people. You are allowed to do that in the UK. There's no, you know, you are allowed to film in public. There's no law against just filming people in the background. But I still don't really like doing it. I try to avoid filming when there's people nearby. I try to only film when I'm alone or when there's enough distance from other people that you can't see their faces and stuff like that. But obviously, at the top of Mam Tor, there's always people about, so there was no way I was going to get any footage from the top without people being in it. So yeah, like I say, I don't really like to do it. I don't really like to get footage of people in the background, but I didn't really have much choice here.
I arrived at the summit of Mam Tor, which, as you can see, was incredibly busy. So many people out enjoying the sun, and at 517 metres above sea level, this trig point marks the highest point of today's journey.
It was...
After a quick break to admire the view, I set my sights on Back Tor and Lewes Hill.
It was a really friendly atmosphere, though, as well. I just want to say, you know, all these people about, but everyone was so friendly. You know, at the end of the day, when you're out here in the Peak District, when you're standing on top of Mam Tor and you see that view, nothing else really matters. You know, all our differences just go out of the window. When you're up there walking on this trail, the people around you are just walkers. Everyone's just there to enjoy the scenery, to enjoy their walk. And it's just such a friendly atmosphere. So just everyone there is just so nice and polite and respectful. It really great atmosphere.
the latter of which lies 2 miles to the east along Great Ridge.
So this is a good shot. This is a shot of where I'm going to be walking later in the video.
The latter of which lies...
So this whole path here is called Great Ridge. It starts at Mamtor and it goes to Lewes Hill. That hill in the back there is Lewes Hill. This little hill in front of it is Backtor. And then there's also a hill in between that doesn't have a name. We'll get to that later. But yeah, so I will be there later in the video. I did walk all the way along to the other end of the ridge.
2 miles to the east along Great Ridge. A paved footpath runs along most of the ridge, and this was also very busy.
You have a good time, says Owen? I did indeed, Owen. It was absolutely a beautiful day. Really fantastic time.
So there won't be any more piece-to-camera stuff until after Lewes Hill.
Yeah, so again, the paved part of the path was the paved part of the path. The paved part of the trail was also very busy. You can see there's a lot of people there in the distance. There were actually a few people just behind me as well. So I didn't want to do any stuff where I was talking to the camera while there were so many people around. I wanted to, do that when it was a little bit quieter. So I didn't record too much of me talking to the camera until later on in the video. Another thing I just want to quickly mention is obviously there were a lot of people here that day, and most of them were walking in the same direction as I was. There was actually a couple with their kid, and this couple were walking along. I was like following along behind them, but I was walking a little bit faster than them, and eventually I overtook them. But then I stopped walking to get my camera out and get some camera shots, and they overtook me. And then after I'd finished recording and I carried on walking, I passed them again. And then I stopped to get some more footage, and they passed me again. And this repeated, like for a solid half an hour. It was just me and this couple just kept passing each other. I'd walk a little bit and stop, and then they'd overtake me, and then I'd keep walking and overtake them, and literally for a whole half an hour I just walked past them like 4 or 5 times, and they said hello every time. It was really awkward. They were like, "Hi, yeah, it's me again. I know you've said hi to me 5 times already, but here I am again. Hello." So that was fun.
Lewes Hill. I did, however, get some fantastic shots of the Vale of Edale to the north and Hope Valley to the south.
So again, to the north of the ridge there is the Vale of Edale, and to the south that you're seeing right now is Hope Valley. And then here's a shot of the A625. I didn't actually do any voiceover to tell you that this was the A625. But I was hoping that you'd be able to work it out anyway. You know which direction I've come from. Then this shot here, you can hopefully tell that is the road that I was walking on earlier. That is the A625. Where's this, says Vixen? This is Great Ridge in the Peak District. Today on this walk, I walked from Castleton to Mamtor to Backtor, Lewes Hill, and Hope. And currently I'm between Mamtor and Hollins Cross.
I stopped for a quick bite.
Oh, lagged out a little bit there. Let's go back a tad.
I stopped for a quick bite to eat by these stone cairns, most of which have been assembled quite recently. While cairns of old were used as navigational waypoints, today they're more of a tradition, with walkers creating their own or contributing stones to an existing pile.
So this was interesting. I wasn't expecting to find these. I really had no idea about these until after the trip, when I got back and had a look at what was going on. So I was walking along, and suddenly to my left there were all these piles of stones, and I thought, right, well, obviously these are quite a recent thing. These aren't like ancient stone cairns. These have been assembled in like the last few years, right? But I had no idea what they were. I didn't really know the story behind them. I thought, have school kids done this? Maybe have people come here on a school trip and built these little piles of stones? I really had no idea what this was all about. And then when I got back, I looked it up and I found out that yeah, these are just built by walkers, literally just people just walking along the trail. Will just build little piles of stones like these. And obviously, stone cairns have a long history in navigation and stuff like that. People, ancient people would build rock piles as like waypoints so that you could find your way and get to places. And that tradition over time has evolved to the point where nowadays they're obviously not used for navigation anymore, but there's still a tradition of you build a little pile of stones as you go along. And there were hundreds of these. There were literally hundreds of these around Hollins Cross. Some of them quite tall. You can see there's quite a tall one there. Some of them just a few rocks high. But yeah, I thought that was a really fascinating thing that I had no idea about until after the trip.
Stopped for a quick bite to eat by these stone cairns, most of which have been assembled quite recently. While cairns of old were used as navigational waypoints, today they're more of a tradition, with walkers creating their own or contributing stones to an existing pile. Getting back on the trail, I soon arrived at Hollins Cross, where a herd of cows had wandered their way onto the footpath.
The cows! Oh, the cows. Okay. I regret not getting more footage of the cows. I wanted to get more video of the cows, because I love cows. The thing is, there were quite a lot of people gathered around the cows because people see cows. They want to go and see the cows. So there wasn't really much opportunity for me to get much footage of them. But I loved seeing the cows. As you can see, they're supposed to be contained on this side of the fence, but someone earlier in the day had obviously left the gate open, and a few of them had gotten through onto this side. Unfortunately, there's not really much you can do about it. It's not really, you can't just go up to the cows and like try and push them back through the gate. So there was nothing really anyone could do about it. Hopefully someone alerted the farmer who presumably lives nearby, and they got back safely. But yeah, this is don't do this if you do go to the Peak District or anywhere in the countryside. Don't leave gates open, especially if there's a sign that says don't leave the gate open. Don't do it, because this is what happens. You end up with a herd of cows getting trapped on the wrong side of the gate because you didn't shut it properly. So yeah, don't do this. Don't leave gates open and let animals get out and just wander around where they're not supposed to be. It's not fair on them, and it's not really fair on walkers either. That being said, it was nice to see the cows. I like cows. They're cute. There's a little babby one there. There was another cow just off camera that I got really close to. Like, I walked directly past it. I was tempted to give it a little pat on the back, but I didn't want to scare it. Didn't want to stress it out. But yeah, there were cows there.
Hollins Cross is the lowest point on Great Ridge.
That's Mamtor in the background, by the way. Hollins Cross is just there where the cows are on the right-hand side. So Mamtor at the top there, and I walked down along the ridge to here.
And is marked by a memorial to hiker Tom Hyatt of the Long Eaton Ramblers Association.
So this is something I regret that I didn't get a better picture of this. It's not a bad picture of the actual structure, but it's not a good picture of the plaque, which is unfortunate because this plaque is dedicated to Tom Hyatt, who was a member of the Long Eaton Ramblers Association. He passed away in 1964, and the association built this memorial at Hollins Cross, which was one of his favourite places to go hiking. So it's a really touching monument. It's a really, really nice little memorial there. Like I say, it's a shame I couldn't get a better photo of the actual plaque. But yeah, that's dedicated to Tom Hyatt.
From here, the path starts to climb again, heading towards a hill which seemingly has no name, but we'll get to that later, because at this point I was distracted by my other great passion. Trains.
Now then. trains. I had to talk about them. I had to mention it. I couldn't go to Mamtor and see all those trains down in the Hope Valley and not talk about them in the video. I didn't want to turn it into a train spotting video. I didn't want to be talking for half an hour about all the trains that I saw that day. So I really tried to keep the train talk to a minimum. But I had to at least mention them because the Hope Valley line from Sheffield to Manchester runs right through the Vale of Edale. If you are interested in trains, it's a really great place to see them from a distance, and you can see there, they look so tiny down there in the valley. I got so many great shots of trains. I actually got, like, I think 6 or 7 different shots of trains, but I didn't put them all in the video because, again, I didn't want to make the video about trains, so I tried to keep this bit as brief as possible.
Yes, for the rail fans among you, the Hope Valley line runs right through the Vale of Edale, and there's an almost constant flow of traffic. I don't want to turn this into a train spotting video, but for those who are interested, the line is served by Northern, Trans-Pennine Express and East Midlands Railway, as well as carrying limestone from the various quarries in the area and cement from the Hope Valley plant.
There you go. I kept that pretty short. I think you'll agree. I could have devolved into an entire 5-minute discussion about trains, but I didn't. I refrained. I kept it short, and I think I did quite
to
well.
Hiker Tom, I'm again heading towards a hill which seemingly has no name.
But I am going to do a little bit of train spotting again.
At this point, I was distracted by my other great passion, trains.
Just because I want to mention it, if anyone cares in the slightest, which you probably don't. But if you do, this train is a CAF Civity in Northern livery. I think it's a 1... I don't actually know the number of this class. 190 something, 197. It might be the 197. But that's Northern. That's going from Sheffield to Manchester.
Yes, for the rail.
That's East Midlands Railway. That's a class 158. That's going from Norwich to Liverpool Lime Street.
Fans among you, the Hope Valley line runs right through the Vale of Edale, and there's an almost constant flow of traffic.
And that is Trans-Pennine Express. That's a class 185. That's going from Liverpool Lime Street to Cleethorpes.
Into a train spotting video, but for those who are interested,
that's the end of the train spotting.
Northern, Trans-Pennine Express and East
no
Midlands
more train
Railway,
spotting beyond
as
this
well
point.
As carrying limestone from the various quarries in the area and cement from the Hope Valley plant.
Well, there is a little bit more later in the video, but we'll get there. That's it for now. Another great shot there of Mamtor. I do a lot of these pan-in shots. I do think I maybe rely a little bit too much on pan-in shots. You'll notice it in the video. There's a lot of shots where I sweep across the landscape, and it doesn't always give you the best view of the landscape because it's just a blur going past the screen. I think in future videos I do need to work on that and not do as many of these sweeping shots. But this is a good shot of Mamtor though, and you can see the path again there, the A625, which I walked up to get to the top, and then Great Ridge there. Which brings us to where we are now.
With Backtor and Lewes Hill still looming in the distance, I pressed on, though the footpath beyond this point was much rougher.
So there's Backtor and Lewes Hill.
I have to say, Backtor
and that is the shot that I used in the thumbnail. If you... in the TikTok thumbnail, that is. The YouTube's got a different thumbnail because of the aspect ratio of YouTube. But if you go to my profile now and look at the TikTok version of the video, this is the shot that I used as the thumbnail. I think this is such a fantastic shot. I think this place is incredible. This is Backtor. It just has such a unique look. I've never seen a hill like this before. It looks so incredible. Really great shot. Really amazing place. This was the highlight of the trip by far.
I have to say, Backtor was probably the highlight of this walk for me.
There you go.
The way it overlooks the Vale of Edale with an almost sheer cliff face on its northern side is incredible. It was also by far the steepest climb of the day, but
it was steep. It was so steep.
the view from the top was such a reward.
There's where I came from again, by the way.
So by far the steepest climb of the day, but the view...
So again, I'll mention it later in the video, but this hill here doesn't have a name. That hill in the back there is Mamtor, and there, that low point there is Hollins Cross. This hill in between, it doesn't have a name. I've looked everywhere online. If you know, if you have any information, let me know. As far as I can tell, and I really, really looked, this hill here between Bactor and Mamtor does not have a name. Anyway.
View from the top was such a reward. And off in the distance there you can see Mamtor and the ridge path I walked along to get here.
Ops on Supreme Court hearing, says Jacob Hutchinson. I made a video about that this morning, Jacob. You can go and watch that if you'd like to know more. I'm not really going to talk about that in today's stream because it's, you know, I want to keep it lighthearted and pleasant. But you can go and check that video out if you want to hear my thoughts on that. Another windy shot, as you can hear.
With Bactor conquered, it was on to Lewes Hill, and this was a considerably easier climb compared to the previous section. At the top...
So this is definitely something that I regret in the video, is that for some reason I hardly captured any footage of me climbing Lewes Hill. Like you can see here, I'm at Bactor, and you can hear me say in the dialogue,
with Bactor conquered, it was on to Lewes Hill.
So, with Bactor conquered, it was on to Lewes Hill. Then there's one single shot of a wall,
and this was a considerably easier climb compared to the previous section. At the top...
And then I'm at the top of the hill. And that's it. I really wish there was more footage of me going up this hill. But it's literally just, okay, I'm going to the top of this hill now. Hard cut to me being at the top of the hill. So yeah, that's one thing that I really regret, is that I didn't capture enough footage of Lewes Hill specifically. But I did get some good footage of the toposcope.
Top of the hill, I found this toposcope, a sort of map which shows the direction and distance of nearby peaks. As mentioned earlier, the hill between Bactor and Hollins Cross doesn't appear on the toposcope, and I was unable to find any mention of its name online.
And if I just pause here again, you can see this thing is a toposcope. It's basically like a big compass, and then there's drawings of the hills. You can see these wavy lines here are actually drawings of what the hills look like. And then there's little markers pointing towards nearby hills. So White Tor is 3.5 miles away, Ashup Valley 1.5 miles away, Wheelstones 3.75 miles away. Really, really interesting thing. Obviously today it's more of a novelty, but I don't know when it was installed. I don't know if it has, you know, if it was actually used for navigation back in the day. But it's a really interesting thing all the same. Wales, says Caro Vadas. No, yeah, it's Caro Vadas. No, this is the Peak District, Caro. This is Great Ridge, which is in Castleton in the Peak District. And incidentally, also, you can see here where I went in the last stream. Stanage Edge. Stanage Edge, 3.5 miles away. So that's where I went in the last Peak District video. That's 3.5 miles to the east of where we are now. But it's interesting to see that on this toposcope.
Hollins Cross.
And you can also see there Frogger Edge, which I'd definitely like to visit in a future video. You can see Hathersage, which is where I ended the last video.
It doesn't appear
and also,
on the toposcope.
If it'll let me pause, Higator, 6.25 miles to Higator. That is,
as mentioned earlier,
that's
the hill
quite
between
far from here.
Bactor and Hollins Cross doesn't
I'm just trying to see. it doesn't look like oh, what's it called? I can't even remember what it's called. The place above Higator, Carl Walk. So Carl Walk doesn't appear to be on the toposcope either, which is interesting.
On the toposcope, and I was unable to find any mention of its name online, so presumably it just doesn't have one.
And again, that hill between Baktor and Mamtor, its name isn't on the toposcope either, so I really don't know if it does have a name. You know, some hills don't have names. Some hills just aren't historically significant enough to have names. And maybe that's one of them. Great stream, says Dagger. Thanks, Dagger. Caravadis says to visit. Not sure what you mean, Caro. This was a visit. Yeah, I don't live in the Peak District. This was a day trip for me.
In a few photos, including my only selfie of the day, I began the long...
There she is. This wasn't actually the only selfie I took on the day. I actually took, I think I took 4, but they were all in the exact same place. This was just the best one of the 4. But it sounds better in the video to say that it was the only one that I took, because I'm not going to show you the other ones anyway. But that was the only selfie I took on the day. I thought it was quite a good one. You can see back Mamtor in the background there. You can see pretty much the entire walk that I've done. You can also see 2 people in the background. You can't see their faces, so it's okay. But yeah, there's 2 folks there enjoying the view. And off in the distance is Mamtor.
Descent from Lose Hill down to Hope. I also want to quickly mention Win Hill, which lies just across the valley near Bamford.
This was a fun one. Win Hill was a fun topic to talk about, and I actually really want to visit Win Hill in a future video. It's just over in Bamford, which is fairly close by. It'd be a really nice place to visit. But the story of Win and Lose Hill was absolutely fascinating. I loved hearing this story, and it was fun talking about it as well. So let's just let it play for a second. Over on YouTube, FR3SHXD says, "Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream." Oh, what's going on now, TikTok? Okay, sorry, TikTok Studio being a little bit peculiar there. So back to the video.
Now you might be thinking, surely there's an interesting story behind the names of these 2 hills, right?
Were you thinking that? I bet you were thinking that. Well, I'm going to tell you.
Well, there's an interesting story, alright, but it's completely untrue.
And this really did fascinate me. I love hearing about, like, folklore and, legend, and finding out what the truth is and how the story becomes, accepted. Because it is an interesting story. It's a really cool story. It would be really cool if it was true. But it's not true. But I'm going to tell you the story anyway, so here we go.
The story goes that in the 7th century, the armies of the kingdoms of Northumbria and Wessex did battle in the Hope Valley. The Wessex forces occupied Lose Hill, while the Northumbrians occupied Win Hill. In the end, the Northumbrians won out, and the 2 hills were named respectively. While it's a great story, there is absolutely no evidence that this battle ever happened, and in reality, the 2 names are pure coincidence.
There you go. I just think that's so incredible, because first of all, it is an incredible coincidence, right?
The story goes that in the 7th Wessex forces occupied Lose Hill.
It is an incredible coincidence that you've got these 2 hills, and one of them's called Lose Hill, and one of them's called Win Hill. It is a great coincidence, and you can see how people would try to make up a story to explain why they're called Win and Lose, and the story is really cool. It's a nice story, but it's not true. It actually is just a coincidence that one of these is called Win Hill and one of them's called Lose Hill. So yeah, great story, not true.
While the Northumbrians occupied Win Hill. In the end, the Northumbrians won out, and the 2 hills were named respectively. While it's a great story, there is absolutely no evidence that this battle ever happened, and in reality, the 2 names are pure coincidence. Lose is believed to come from the Old English word hlose, meaning pigsty, while win most likely comes from within, meaning willow.
So I didn't really have too much time to explain why they have those names here,
Meaning
but I do just want to quickly go over it here.
Pure coincidence.
So again,
Lose
Hill. The name Lose comes from hlose, which is an Old English word meaning pigsty. It was called that because there were pigsties on this hill many centuries ago. Simple as that.
Is believed to come from the Old English word hlose, meaning pigsty, while win most.
And then win comes from within, which means willow. There is evidence that willow trees did grow in the area around Win Hill many years ago, which is most likely why it was called Within Hill, and then eventually Win Hill. So yeah, that's why the two hills have their name. One of them's named after a pigsty, one of them's named after a willow tree. It's just a complete coincidence that the names are Win and Lose.
There is absolutely no evidence that this battle ever happened, and in reality the two names are pure coincidence. Lose is believed to come from the Old English word hlose, meaning pigsty, while win most likely comes from within, meaning willow.
So we're now on what is essentially
the jacket. I'm wearing the jacket. So again, I was wearing the jacket at the very start of the video, but those clips didn't make it into the final cut. So this is the first time in the video that you actually see me wearing the jacket. But on top of the hill, it was actually kind of chilly. It was a very hot day, but because there was such a breeze as well, I did get the shivers a little bit. So I put my jacket on and took it off a few times during the walk. And this was the only time in the video that I happened to be wearing my jacket while I was recording. So there's only 2 shots in the video where I'm actually wearing my jacket. But in reality, I was taking it on and off all day.
Our final descent into the Hope Valley. If I just turn around, you can see we're on our way down this quite steep path towards.
And also my hair's all over the place at this point.
In about half an hour's time, we should be arriving in Hope.
My hair doesn't like wind. My hair does not take kindly to wind.
Completing the circle for today's trip.
The slightest breeze, and this is what happens. And believe me, I wear a very tight ponytail when I'm out walking. I tighten that bad boy until I can feel my hair coming out of my head. But even with the tightest ponytail in the world, the slightest bit of breeze, and my hair is all over the place.
So just over there is Hope Valley Cement Works. You may have seen it in the background of both this video and the last. It's certainly
I feel like this clip,
prominent landmark in the valley.
Because of the wind, you can't really hear what I'm saying that well in this clip, which is unfortunate. But basically, I'm just saying that is Hope Cement Works. It's a very visible landmark in the Hope Valley. I was trying to avoid saying that it's an eyesore, but obviously for the people who live in Castleton and Hope, it is considered a bit of an eyesore. It's not the prettiest building. It's just this, right in the middle of this beautiful natural landscape, there's a great big cement factory. And I did want to talk a little bit more about the cement works in the video. I wanted to talk about, why it's there, when it was first built, and its significance to the economy of the area, and what the locals' opinions are on it. But it would have made the video too long. It wouldn't have fit in the video. But yeah, I wanted to at least mention it because you can't go to the Hope Valley and not notice it. It's very noticeable no matter where you are. In fact, if you go back to my last video when I went to Stanage Edge, you can see this in the background of that video, even though that was over 3.5 miles away. You can still see this building in the background. That's how much this building sticks out. It really does stick out like a sore thumb. And yeah, I wish I could have talked a little bit more about it, about the history of it and why it's there and why it's still there to this day, but I didn't really get a chance.
Prominent landmark in the valley. I just can't get over how high Lewes Hill is. It feels like I've walked twice as far as we did last time. And don't get me wrong, I do absolutely love Stanage Edge, but this felt like so much more of a challenge.
This is the second shot of me wearing the jacket. You will not see the jacket again in today's video. That was it. It was literally just those 2 shots. Next time you see me, I won't have the jacket on. Where is this, says Eddie? This is Castleton in the Peak District. Ooh, little bit of lag there.
Like so much more of a challenge.
Say goodbye to the jacket. There it goes. So this bit, I got a lot of footage of me walking. Like, I got a lot of footage where the camera was facing forward and I was just walking down the path. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it because there was so much of it and I didn't want to just throw it all away. So I decided to cut it down as much as possible so that there's only, you know, there's a few seconds of each clip and then it quickly jumps to the next one. You can see it here. And I try to actually put a bit of a rhythm to it, because obviously you can hear my footsteps in the clip. I try to make sure that each clip is the same number of footsteps, so that it flows better. Like you know, in one clip it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next clip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next clip, and by doing it like that, it hopefully makes the pacing feel, you know, quite tight. You be the judge of that.
So I've just passed under the railway bridge, which takes freight trains from Earl's Sidings to Hope Cement Works.
Cat. I'll say more about the cat in a minute. But again, a lot of short shots. Whenever I'm walking, I try to time it so that there's the same number of footsteps in each shot. And it hopefully, like I say, it just makes it flow a little bit better. But rewinding just slightly, a couple of minor things I want to say. This was actually the longest shot in the entire video. I don't know why I did it, but I recorded myself walking down this road for a whole minute. Like, there is a whole minute-long clip of just me walking down this road. And I do not know why I did it. I do not know why I got a 60-second clip of this. But I did. This was the single longest shot that I captured that day. And I shortened it down to just a few seconds.
So I've just passed under the railway bridge, which takes freight trains from Earl's Sidings to Hope.
Then here, I was going to say more about this. This clip might seem a bit out of place in the final video. I kind of just say, there's the railway line that goes to Hope Cement Works. And that's the whole clip.
Bridge, which takes freight trains from Earl's Sidings to Hope Cement Works.
And I did want to say more about it. I was going to do a whole little bit here where I talk about the cement works and about the railway that connects to the cement works and stuff like that. But then I saw a cat, and literally this is the only reason that I stopped, that I dropped that idea, because I saw a cat. And I thought, you know, I'd better record the cat. So I dropped everything and recorded the cat instead, which is why there's this clip here of me talking about the railway that just completely abruptly ends, and suddenly there's a shot of a cat instead.
I've just passed under the railway bridge, which takes freight trains from Earl's Sidings to Hope Cement Works.
That's it. And then there's a cat. But it was such a cute cat. I couldn't not get a shot of this cat. Look at it. He's such a cute puppy. Oh, loved that cat. Very important. I feel like that's an essential part of the video. You know, never mind the history of Castleton and the history of the Hope Valley. This was the single most important shot in the entire video. Look at it. Look at that cat. What a gorgeous cat. So then I was back into Hope. This is Peaks Hole Water that I'm crossing right now. I do mention it later in the video, so we won't touch upon it here. But that's Peaks Hole Water.
Okay, I am finally sat down on a proper bench for the first time today. We just passed through the village of Hope, and just behind me there is the public footpath, which is going to take us back to Castleton.
So you notice I'm not wearing the jacket again. I took my jacket off at this point. I was back down in the valley, so there wasn't as much wind, and I was starting to get hot again. So no more jacket for the rest of the video. But this genuinely was the first bench I passed all day. Well, there were a couple of benches in Castleton, but obviously once you're on top of once you're on the walking path on top of Great Ridge, there's no benches. If you want to sit down, you got to sit on a big rock. This was literally the first bench that I had seen since Castleton. So I thought it'd be a good place to sit down. It was very quiet as well. It was just outside the village, so there was nobody else around. I thought this would be a nice place to sit down, have my dinner, and do a little bit of piece to camera stuff. So that's why I decided to do this little bit here. Ruben says, are you a cat or dog person, or both? I'm more of a cat person, Ruben. In our family, there are many cats and dogs. But I definitely would say, personally, I'm more of a cat lover. Anyway, back to the video.
I haven't even had my sandwiches yet. I've got cheese and piccalilli. I did bring ploughman's last time, but thought I'd keep it simple today.
Look at that, cheese and piccalilli. What a great simple sandwich.
I haven't even had my sandwiches yet.
There.
I've got cheese and piccalilli. I did bring ploughman's last time, but
look at that, gorgeous. It looks like egg. It looks like a fried egg here, but that's the piccalilli. I love piccalilli. In fact, someone actually asked me in Tuesday's live stream if I liked pickled stuff. Hopefully this answers your question, because I got a cheese and piccalilli sandwich for my dinner. Yes, I'm a big fan of pickled foods. So last time I bought a ploughman sandwich, which is a whole, lettuce, tomato, pickle, cheese, mayonnaise. It's a whole thing. It's a sandwich experience. I didn't want to be doing all that this time. I just wanted to whip up a quick, simple sandwich that I could snack on when I was getting hungry. So I bought cheese and piccalilli instead. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about my dinner. I don't know why. I guess, it's an important part of the walk. If you're going on a long walk, especially somewhere like the Peak District, you're going to be doing a lot of climbing, a lot of walking. Make sure you take a proper lunch with you. Make sure you've got plenty to keep you sustained. Plenty to drink. I took quite a lot of fruit shoots. So I took a lot of those with me. And yeah, a lot of food as well. Make sure you've got plenty to snack on. Crisps, sausage rolls, pork pies, fruit and veg, anything. Just make sure you've got plenty of food with you. I think that's really why I wanted to put this into the video. Was just to say, look, I've brought dinner with me, and you should too. If you ever go on a walk like this, take food with you. Zara says, I've just seen your most recent video. I watch you lots when you're live, and I really hope you're okay. Thank you, Zara. That's very kind of you. Like I say, I don't really want to talk too much about that today, because that's why I made the video, so it could just be a separate sort of thing. But yes, I have addressed that whole thing in that video. Please do go and check that out if you want to know my thoughts on the Supreme Court decision. I'm not going to get into that today, but thank you for the kind words, Zara. So anyway, back to me eating my lunch. Hey,
Thought I'd keep it simple today. And then I've also got a little bit of red pepper, some pak choi, one of my favourites, and a big old tomato.
Okay. If you're hungry, why not consider chili, says Ministry of Anus Inspectors. Great name, first of all. I don't think chili would have gone well with this walk. I don't know, it just... I'm no stranger to spicy food. I do quite enjoy spicy food, but it seems like not right to take spicy food on a walk. I don't know why. It just seems weird to me. To take chili on a hike, you know. But I do like chili. It's good for hunger and energy, apparently. Oh well, you know, maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe I should be taking chilies on my walk with me. I'll bear it in mind. But yeah, another thing I just want to quickly mention.
Last time,
because I hold up a slice of pepper here, and I say I've brought some pepper with me.
And then I've also got a little bit of red.
And I specifically say I've brought a little bit of pepper, and then I show one single slice of pepper. And I didn't want people to think that I'd literally just bought one slice of pepper, because that's what it sounds like, right? If you watch it back, it really looks like I've just bought one single slice of pepper with me.
Bring Ploughman's last time, but thought I'd keep it simple today. And then I've also got a little bit of red pepper.
I did bring more than that. It looks like I only brought one piece of pepper, but I did bring a few slices of pepper.
Some pak choi, one of my favourites.
Love pak choi. Big up pak choi. Shout out to pak choi. Genuinely one of my favourite salad vegetables. Love pak choi.
Red pepper.
There it is. There's my boy pak choi.
Pak choi, one of my favourites, and a big old tomato.
And I did bring a whole tomato. I cut it in half, so technically it wasn't a whole tomato. It was 2 half tomatoes. But I cut it in half so that it'd fit in my lunchbox. But I love tomatoes as well. Great snack. I feel like, for me personally, I would put tomatoes on the same level of like grapes. Obviously, this is a plum tomato, so it's quite a big one. But cherry tomatoes, I could eat cherry tomatoes just like grapes. I could just sit there with a bowl of cherry tomatoes and just eat the whole thing. I love tomatoes. I love the way tomatoes taste. And they're good for you. They're super easy to grow, by the way. I don't want to turn this into a gardening video, but if you have a garden and you want to try growing fruit and veg, tomatoes, they're so easy to grow. Grow cherry tomatoes in your garden. They're really easy. They make for a great snack, and they're good for you. You know. This was not from my garden. This was a shop-bought tomato, but I do grow my own cherry tomatoes.
Incidentally, while I was eating my lunch, there was a lot of traffic for the cement works along this road. Because of its location within a national park, the plant is required to move at least 2/3 of its product by rail, but sadly, even with that requirement, a lot of goods are still moved by road.
So this was an interesting thing that I just wanted to mention, is that, again, a lot of because Hope Cement Works is right in the middle of the Hope Valley, there's a lot of traffic.
But sadly, even with that requirement, a lot of goods are still.
So there's a lot of you'll see a lot of big lorries like this, transporting cement to and from the plant, which is a shame. It's a shame that you've got this outstanding area of outstanding natural beauty, and it's just full of lorries transporting cement. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way that it is. And I did mention, like say in the video, 2/3 of the cement from the plant is moved by rail. I don't know if that's a requirement or if it's a commitment. Like, I don't know if they have to move 2/3 of it by rail, or if they have committed to only move 2/3 of it by rail. But that is the way that it's done currently. So 66% of the cement produced at the factory is transported by rail, and then the other 33% is transported by road, which means there is still quite a lot of HGVs in the area. And it's, like I say, it's a shame that this tiny little cozy village has got HGVs driving through it 24/7. And I just wanted to point that out in the video.
By road.
And with my packed lunch exhausted, it's time to get back on the move. So now we're back on the footpath. It should be about a 30-minute walk to Castleton. Then I've got a decision to make. I can either get my bus back home, or I can wait for the next one, which is an hour later, and have a walk up Cave Dale instead.
So this is something that I didn't mention until now in the video, but I did have the intention of going to Cave Dale. When I went to Stanage Edge last time, I kind of had a backup plan in case I missed the bus, because I knew, the buses are only once every hour, and so I came up with this plan, like, if I miss the bus, I'll do something else instead to kill the time, and that's what I did this time. So I said to myself, if I get back to Castleton just in time for the bus, then I'll go straight home, but if I get to Castleton and there's like an hour left till my bus comes, then I'll go to Cave Dale and extend the walk a little bit, and that's what I ended up doing.
Then I've got a decision to make. I can either get my bus back home, or I can wait for the next one, which is an hour later, and have a walk up Cave Dale instead.
So the footpath I'm on right now runs alongside Peak's Hole Water, which actually originates from Peak Cavern in Castleton and flows east into the River Noe, which in turn flows into the Derwent, which flows into the Trent, which flows into the Humber.
This animation, by the way, was way more difficult than it should have been. It took me way too long to figure out how to do this when it's literally just a few lines of text fading onto the screen. I really overcomplicated it. But I think the result is good. I like how it turned out.
Which flows into the Derwent, which flows into the Trent, which flows into the Humber. So this water here will eventually make its way to the North Sea.
And yes, that is the route
into the Humber.
Of the that's the route of the water from Peak Cavern. It flows into Peak's Hole Water, then the River Noe, then Derwent, then Trent, and then the Humber estuary. Why are you reacting to your own video, says Jesper Aston. So this is not a reaction, Jesper Aston. This is a commentary video. I'm talking about the sort of behind the scenes of how it was all made, and what kind of stuff made it into the video and what kind of stuff didn't make it into the video. So it's not just a reaction. Like I say, it's more like a director's commentary.
Here will eventually make its way to the North Sea.
So once again, there is Hope Valley Cement Works. We're pretty close to it now. And just here is the railway line which connects the plant to Hope Earls Sidings. And as you can see, it looks like we're going over it on a foot crossing.
So there was an alternate take here. There was a take I did before where I said it looks like we're going to cross at grade. But I thought it sounded a bit too American, because in the UK we don't say grade crossing, right? We say level crossing, and even though at grade is still a technically correct thing to say, it just didn't feel right me saying it that way. So I didn't. I recorded it again and did it differently. But yeah, in the original take, I said we're going to cross the railway at grade. And then I did another take where I said foot crossing instead. And there's the cement works. This is as close as we get to the cement works in the video, but you can see again, it's huge. It is an absolutely massive building. It really does dominate the landscape in the valley, and people have mixed feelings about it. It is definitely an eyesore to some extent. But it also nestles in quite nicely. I don't know. I don't personally think I'd call it an eyesore, but I think if I lived near it, if I lived in the Peak District and this was my view every day, I think I can see why it would definitely be considered a bit of an eyesore.
So this right here is the line to Hope Valley
Surprise, I'm talking about trains again.
Cement Works. It's just down there.
No, you thought we were done.
Here's the foot crossing, and off in that direction is Earl's Sidings.
You thought we were done talking about trains. You were mistaken. Here we are. This is my second train spotting moment in today's video. So this line runs from Earl's Sidings to the Cement Works. Earl's Siding is like the exchange sidings for cement from the Hope Valley, and the bridge that I crossed under earlier, I was talking about the railway over the bridge going to Hope Cement Works. That's at the other end of this line where the railway meets up with Earl's Sidings.
Now, unfortunately, I didn't encounter any trains at the crossing on this occasion.
And I really did try, by the way. I was really hoping that I would be able to see a train up close, because the trains on this line are a little bit of a rare sight, as I'll tell you in a minute. But yeah, there were no trains at the crossing. I did actually see one earlier in the day, but it was from way up on the top of Mamtor. It was like the tiniest speck. I didn't even bother trying to record it because I knew it wouldn't be visible on the video. But I did see a train on this line. Unfortunately, I was about 4 miles away.
But if you'll indulge my inner train spotter for the second time today, the line is almost exclusively operated by Class 20 locomotives.
So there's the Class 20 locomotive. Don't want to dwell too much on it. You know, don't want to turn it into a train spotting video again. But these are the trains that operate on the line. I couldn't find a picture of one in its current livery, but this is what they looked like when they were with Lafarge Cement. They're now with Breeden. But yeah, this is the kind of train that you will see on the line. I just didn't see any that day.
Or this is because the line is unsuitable for heavier traffic, so wagons are moved in small batches between the plant and Earl's Sidings.
And if we rewind a little bit, you can see just by looking at it that this railway line is not in the best of condition. The track looks very uneven. It's very badly maintained. It's got quite tight curves. So yeah, big freight trains cannot come down here. It's definitely not suitable for larger trains, which is why
I didn't encounter any trains at the crossing on this occasion. But if you'll indulge my inner train spotter for the second time today, the line is almost exclusively operated by Class 20.
There you go. You can see this the Class 20 a lot smaller than your average freight train. You know, those huge Class 66s. No way they could get down this line. But yeah. Anyway, enough train spotting. No more train spotting. I promise. No more train spotting for the rest of the video.
It is unsuitable for heavier traffic, so wagons are moved in small batches between the plant and Earl's Sidings.
And there were lambs as well. It's lambing season. So there were loads of lambs about, and obviously the public footpath went right through the field with all the lambs, so I got some really nice close-up shots of these guys. They were so cute. There they are. Yeah, so not much to say about that. Just you know, lambs. They're cute, aren't they? Look, oh, they just so cute. And I just love that shot of them just sunbathing, you know, just those two curled up together in the sun. Beautiful.
So just to recap, by the way, today we have walked all the way up to the top of Mamtor, along that ridge to Lewes Hill, back down into Castleton, and now we're on our way back.
Another very slight slip up there. I said that we'd walked from Castleton to Castleton, which
back
was
down
wrong.
Into Castleton.
So I just put a little text note there to correct myself. But yeah, you can see in this clip where we walked in this trip. So that's where we started, sort of just behind those trees. I walked all the way up to the top of Mam Tor there.
We have walked all the way up to the top of Mam Tor,
and then
along
here,
that ridge to Lewes Hill.
I mean, you
back
can hear
down
me say it in the video.
Castleton,
I'm just repeating
and
myself.
Now
really.
We're on our way back.
But it was great to get that shot and to see exactly where I'd started and exactly where I'd finished. Like, you could see the whole walk laid out in front of you, which is very different to when I went to Stanage Edge, because from the start point to the end point of that walk, you couldn't see from one to the other. Whereas on this walk, you could quite clearly see where I started and where I finished, which was really nice. That was another quite long shot as well, actually. This shot of me walking alongside Peak's Hole Water there, this was like a good 30 seconds, I think, and it did not need to be... I didn't need it all. Nice silent shot of some running water. When I say silent, I mean no dialogue. I got a couple of shots like that in the last video as well. I think there's something really calming about running water. You know, it's really nice to just be silent and listen to the sound of running water. So that's why I decided to put a couple of shots of just the water running in there. And with the birds in the background as well, it was just such a relaxing place, this. And there you can see on screen, the bird was a blue tit. I looked that up when I got back. I've got a bird app. I've got an app called Merlin, which tracks, which can identify bird song. It's a really cool app. If you hear birds singing outside, you can take the app outside and press like listen, and it will detect the bird song and tell you what kind of bird it is, which is really cool. So I fed this video into the app, and it told me that is the song of a blue tit. And I believe, if we listen to the clip again, I think the blue tit was in this tree, because you'll hear the song get way louder as we approach this tree, and then right at the end of the clip, just as I pass the tree, you can hear it quieten down a little bit. So I think the blue tit was in that tree there. Yeah, pretty sure it was in that tree.
And finally, after 5 hours and just over 8 miles of walking, I arrived back in Castleton.
And we're back in Castleton.
I made it with time to spare for the bus back to Sheffield, but I still had plenty of energy, so I decided to wait for the next one and head to Cave Dale.
So I got back to Castleton, there were about 20 minutes left before the bus, and I thought, right, I'm not going to sit and wait for 20 minutes. I'll go up to Cave Dale instead. I knew that I wouldn't get there and back in 20 minutes, so I said, you know what, I'll just catch the next bus. So I did end up staying a bit longer than I'd originally planned to, but it was worth it to get to Cave Dale. There's also a small thing I want to point out here is this.
Back in Castleton.
Hold on.
I made it with time to spare for the bus back to Sheffield, but I still had plenty of energy, so I decided to wait for the next one and head to Cave Dale.
That bit, when I say to Cave Dale, now, I don't know why this happened. I think it was a bug with the recording software, but when I recorded the video, when I recorded the audio for the voiceover, I did say that I went to Cave Dale. But for some reason, the audio cuts out, and it sounds like I'm saying I went to Cave Dale.
So I decided to wait for the next one and head to Cave Dale.
I don't know how it happened, but I say when I was recording it, I said to Cave Dale, and then in the clip, it sounds like I said to Cave Dale. So I tried to disguise it a little bit by cutting to another clip very quickly.
to wait for the next one and head to Cave Dale.
Which actually just makes it look like a bad cut, which I'm not a fan of, but I'd rather there be one bad cut in the whole video than have to record all of that dialogue again. So yeah, this actually isn't a bad cut, but it looks like it's a bad cut because of the audio bug.
For the bus back to Sheffield, but I still had plenty of energy, so I decided to wait for the next one and head to Cave Dale.
Crazy. Again, it isn't a bad cut, but it feels like a bad cut because the audio cuts out for a second. This plaque tells you a little bit more about Cave Dale. Very interesting stuff. It doesn't actually have the full history on there, which is a shame. But, you know, some interesting information there. And yeah, like I say, not quite conclusive enough, though. It didn't really tell me everything that I needed to know, so I did a bit more research about this when I got back.
Cave Dale is an extremely narrow valley.
See a sign there that says Matlock 26 miles and Rochester 46 miles. And it's a trail called the Limestone Way. This is actually a public walking trail, so if you really wanted to, you could walk from Castleton all the way to Rochester, 46 miles. There is a paved, well, not a paved trail, but there is a public footpath, a public walking trail that goes all the way from Castleton to Rochester.
Which sits above Peak Cavern, also known as the Devil's Arse.
I had to mention the Devil's Arse. I couldn't make a video about Castleton and not mention the Devil's Arse. So for those of you who don't know, there is a cave in Castleton called the Devil's Arse. Here's a photo of the sign at the entrance to the cave. In recent years, it has become known more as Peak Cavern, because obviously the Devil's Arse is a little bit of a rude name. I think it's a shame. I think we should keep calling it the Devil's Arse. It still says the Devil's Arse on the sign, and I choose to call it the Devil's Arse. So there we go. There, have you ever seen the Devil's Arse? You have now. There's a picture of it. Back to the video. I literally just put that in there because I couldn't not mention it.
Cave Dale is an extremely narrow valley which sits above Peak Cavern, also known as the Devil's Arse.
Although it is actually important, right? Like, obviously I did want to mention it just for the sake of it, because, haha, funny name, there's a cave called the Devil's Arse. But it does also actually relate to what I was talking about, because the Devil's Arse is underneath Cave Dale, and both of them were formed at the same time in the same way. So it is, you know, they are connected to each other. The Devil's Arse is connected to Cave Dale. Thoughts on Supreme Court ruling, says Jay Boquette. I've made a video about that, Jay Boquette. I made it this morning. If you want to go and check it out. I was wearing the same top that I'm wearing now, so you can't miss the video. You'll see the thumbnail. But yeah, I'm not talking about that in the stream. Sorry.
The eastern end of the largest cave network in the Peak District.
And yeah, as you can see here, the Peak Cavern is the largest cave entrance in Britain. So the Devil's Arse is the largest cave entrance in Britain. And it is the entrance to Peak Cavern, which is the most complex and long network of caves in the Peak District, and one of the lengthiest cave networks in the UK. It's also home to the deepest vertical cave shaft in the UK. I didn't mention it in the video, but there is a shaft called Titan, which is the deepest vertical cave in the UK, and it is here in Castleton. Didn't mention it in the video, so I'm mentioning it now.
And both were formed by glacial meltwater eroding through the softer limestone in this area.
Now, I could not find any information online about when this happened. So as I just said there,
in the Peak District, and both were formed by glacial meltwater eroding through the softer limestone in this area.
So in the last video I talked about how the Peak District was formed. Most of the low Peak District is limestone, and obviously limestone is very soft, it's very easy to erode, and that's how you get a lot of valleys and caves in limestone, because if water runs over limestone for long enough, it will carve some very deep paths into it. And this whole area here, this whole cave dale, all of this here is erosion, basically. This whole valley and all of the caves underneath were formed by erosion. But I couldn't find out when. I really did try. I looked into it. The most specific thing that I could find was that it was glacial meltwater. But it doesn't say if it was formed in the last ice age, or the ice age before that, or the ice age before that. Seemingly there's no information online about how old this valley actually is. So it was formed from a melting glacier, but nobody knows when, apparently.
Stone in this area. There are many small cave entrances within the dale, and while most are not traversable, they do connect to the peak cavern system. Atop the...
Okay, so yeah, there are quite a lot of caves. There are quite a lot of small cave entrances in Cave Dale. That's one of the reasons that it has its name. They're not big enough to get into, or if they are big enough to get into, they don't really go anywhere. Like if you went in here, for example, you'd maybe get a few meters in, and then there'd be like a tiny little hole that just disappears down into the ground. So these caves do technically connect to Peak Cavern underneath, but they're not big enough for people to get down. With one exception, there is quite a big cave entrance in Cave Dale that goes down into Peak Cavern, but it's used as a ventilation shaft for the show cave, so it's gated off and you can't get into it.
And while most are not traversable, they do connect to the Peak Cavern system. Atop the almost vertical western wall lies Peveril Castle.
There's Peveril Castle. I didn't really have much to say about Peveril Castle. I've been to Castleton many times before, but I've never really been to Peveril Castle. And I don't know. I'm not really that into castles, to be honest. It's never really particularly interested me. So I wanted to mention it in the video. I couldn't go to Castleton and not mention Peveril Castle. But I really didn't have much to say about it. So I literally just said, "There's a castle here. It was built in 1066." And that's it. Let's move on.
Vertical western wall lies Peveril Castle, an early Norman castle erected sometime between 1066 and 1086 when it first appeared in the Domesday Book.
And that's it. That's literally all I had to say about Peveril Castle in the video. One thing I do want to point out here, though, is
while most are not
you will notice a certain shot
First of all,
here.
they do connect to the Peak Cavern system.
This shot of Peveril Castle, if you watch carefully, you might notice it.
Atop the almost vertical western wall lies Peveril Castle.
So what actually happens there is the video reverses. If we watch it back one more time.
System. Atop the almost vertical western wall lies
the camera pans to the right,
Peveril Castle,
and then it pans back to the left again. And if you look really, really closely, you can just about tell that the video actually reverses there. So the camera's moving that way, and then the camera starts moving back again when the video reverses.
Castle, an early...
And the reason I did this is because I didn't have enough footage of the castle. So like I was saying earlier,
you do connect to the Peak Cavern system.
There's 3 tricks you can do in editing when you don't have enough footage to fill a certain space, right? 1, you can reuse a certain shot that you've already used earlier. 2, you can add in a shot that's completely unrelated just to fill out the space. Or 3, the third trick, and this is a trick I use quite a lot in my videos. Most of the time it's not noticeable, but I do this quite a lot when a video clip is just a bit too short. What I'll do is I'll copy and paste the last couple of seconds of the video and reverse it. And hopefully when the video's played back, because it reverses, It feels like a smooth movement, so you don't really notice it. But yeah, if you look very carefully in some of my videos, you will notice certain shots where the video reverses for a couple of seconds. Most of the time, it's not noticeable. I try not to do it if it's going to be overly noticeable. Obviously, I wouldn't have a video of me walking towards the camera and then suddenly I'm walking backwards, because that would be way too obvious. But when it's a shot like this, you can kind of get away with it.
Atop the almost vertical western wall lies Peveril Castle.
But again, if you look closely there, you can just tell that the video goes backwards at the last moment.
The almost vertical western wall lies Peveril Castle.
And I used that trick a couple of times in this video. Aiden says, what are your thoughts on the paranormal? Interesting question, Aiden. I am a skeptic. I don't really believe in the paranormal. I think people do see things. I think there are phenomena that we can't quite explain. But I don't think it's dead people. I don't think that ghosts really exist. Not in the way that that people traditionally think of them. But yeah, it's an interesting question. Thanks for asking. See another little cave entrance there, by the way. Why is the video not playing?
An early Norman castle erected sometime between 1066 and 1086 when it first appeared in the Domesday Book.
And there we go. That's the last shot of the castle. There are a couple more shots of the castle later on. It is an interesting looking castle, definitely. But I just didn't really have much to say about it. There you go. This is another fantastic shot. This could have been thumbnail material. I definitely could have used this as the thumbnail for the video. There's Peveril Castle on the left, Cavedale cutting right down the centre there, and in the background there is actually, I think that might be Lewes Hill, where we were earlier on in the video. Great shot. And then down there, some random person just wanders into it, but they're far enough away that it doesn't ruin the shot. Another good shot. Look at that. So that behind us there, that's Lewes Hill actually. So the other shot must have been Win Hill. That's Lewes Hill. That's Backtor. That is where I walked earlier in the video. And I think it's just incredible to see a shot like this with me standing here, knowing that a couple of hours ago I was there on top of that mountain, which is, well, on top of that hill, which is way off in the distance. And a few hours later, here I am. I just think it's really cool to be able to see how far you've progressed on a walk. And then we're about to get to the top, not the top of Cavedale, but the top for me, as I'm about to explain.
Okay, I am officially giving up on reaching the top of Cavedale. I genuinely have no idea how much further it goes, but my bus back is in 45 minutes and I really need to start heading back down again. So, sorry Cavedale, you defeated me. Maybe next time. I'm off.
I was genuinely disappointed, by the way, that I couldn't get to the top of Cavedale. Excuse me.
Said I really need to start heading back.
Oh god,
how much further it goes, but
that's the monster. I apologise. But yeah, you can see here when I pan round. You can see behind me there that it does keep going for quite a while. I really did want to get to the top because there's some interesting stuff at the top there. But I couldn't go any further. I was exhausted. Bear in mind at this point I'd walked about 9 miles. I'd walked about 9 miles, mostly uphill. And I just couldn't do any more. So I didn't get to the top. I'm really disappointed about that. But yeah, it is what it is. And the thing that I really wanted to talk about that was nearer the top that I didn't get a chance to is the lead mines. So way back at the start of the video, I talk about Odin Mine, which is the oldest lead mine in Derbyshire. And I wanted to talk about the lead mines in Cave Dale as well, because there were quite a few lead mines in this area too, particularly beyond this point that I got to in the video. And again, unfortunately, I didn't walk far enough to see those places, so I didn't get a chance to talk about them in the video. It is a shame. It is a shame. But maybe next time. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this is as far as I got in Cave Dale on this occasion.
Officially giving up on reaching the top of Cave Dale. I genuinely have no idea how much further it goes, but my bus back.
And incidentally, it went a lot further as well.
Heading back down again. So, sorry, Cave Dale, you defeated me. Maybe next time. I'm off.
I got back home and I looked on Google Maps and I was shocked at how much further the path actually did go. So it's probably for the best that I turned around when I did, because I would not have reached the top. It would have taken another hour of walking to actually get to the top. So I had to admit defeat this time.
These have got no problem climbing these hills. They're certainly better at it than me.
That was just thinking out loud there. There were some sheep nearby, so I thought, I'll film the sheep and just think up some random dialogue to put over it, and that's how we ended up with that.
Look at these guys. These have got no problem climbing these hills. They're certainly better at it than me.
There you go. That's maybe a bit of unnecessary dialogue there, but I just wanted to include the sheep in the video. And then we're on our way down again, and I did the same technique earlier, where there's like 4 or 5 different clips of me walking, but I've edited them together so that I take the same number of footsteps in each clip, which makes it flow quite nicely. If you listen very carefully, I take exactly 8 footsteps in each clip here. It's not something that you notice when you're watching the video, but it just kind of subconsciously it makes the video flow quite nicely. And again, if you listen to it carefully, you can hear it. So starting from here. There you go. That last clip a tiny bit longer, maybe. But yeah, like I say, it's a really simple thing, and you're probably thinking, you might be watching thinking, why is that? Why does that matter? But it genuinely does make a difference. Because even though you don't consciously notice it when you're watching the video, in the back of your head, subconsciously, it just makes the video flow a lot better if you time the clips perfectly so they're all the exact same length. Whereas if I'd like, it's all on beat as well. Like if I'd cut to a different take where the first footstep was slightly delayed, you'd notice it. Like you don't notice how well it flows, but if it didn't flow, you would notice it, if that makes sense. Again, it's a very small thing, but it does genuinely make the video flow better. And again, if I didn't do it like that, if the footsteps weren't lined up perfectly, it wouldn't flow as better, and you would subconsciously notice the difference. When I got back to the village, I still had 20 minutes to spare, so I took a seat by the war memorial, finished off my snacks, and relaxed in the afternoon sun. This war memorial was beautiful, by the way. I mean, Castleton's a really beautiful village. You know, as a whole. But this little sort of village green with the war memorial
still had 20 minutes to spare.
Was absolutely
gorgeous.
I
took a seat by the war memorial, finished off my snacks, and relaxed in the afternoon sun.
Quite busy again as well.
When I got home, I had a quick look on Google Maps and found that.
And then, yeah, I just a random shot of me eating a grape. I just felt that it was needed. You know, it felt like after all that walking, I wanted it to feel like this was the end of the walk, and I was having a rest, having a little sit down and relax after the long walk. Which is why I wanted to include the shot of me eating a grape. So that's why that's there.
Relaxed in the afternoon sun. When I got home, I had a quick look on
and I think it works quite well. I think maybe there was a bit too much of a pause before I grab the grape. There's like a little bit of an awkward silence, and then I go in and grab a grape.
When I got home, I had a quick look.
But it's a minor thing. It's not gonna affect, you know, the flow of the video really. And you can see in there, I have a few nuts, raisins, and grapes. Nice, tasty little snack pot there. I'd finished the rest of my lunch before, you know, the sandwiches and veg and all that kind of stuff. But I still had a bit of fruit left. So after that long walk, I, you know, just wanted to sit down and have a snack before I went home.
Maps and found that I'd reached this point about 950 meters into the dale.
So this point here is as far as I walked. That clip where I was at the top of Cave Dale and I said, this is it, I'm turning around and going back home. That was where I got to, obviously starting from Castleton down here. And what you don't see off the frame here is that this just keeps going. This goes on for so long. I was literally about halfway up. It looks like it's going to just disappear just off screen there, but it doesn't. It carries on. There was no way I was going to reach the top in that video. So unfortunately I did have to turn around, but that's as far as I got.
Which meant that by the time I got back to the bus station...
And there's the full walk. So the original walk that I showed at the beginning of the video was from Castleton, round in a circle, and back to Castleton. The Cave Dale part of the walk was the kind of bonus section, the extra bit of walk that I did. And yeah, yes, it does kind of look like an umbrella. If you're out there looking at this thinking the route kind of looks like an umbrella, I thought so too. I didn't mention it in the video because why would I? But it kind of looks like an umbrella.
I'd walked a grand total of 16 kilometers.
So there was the final grand total for the day. 16 kilometers walked, 9.9 miles. I actually think it was probably around 10 miles. I think, you know, with the all the extra little bits like exploring around Odin Mine, and sometimes I'd go backwards a little bit to redo a shot. I think in total I probably did walk a full 10 miles that day, but 9.9 is pretty good as well.
Or just shy of 10 miles. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. This project was even bigger and more ambitious than Stanage Edge, and I actually captured almost an hour of footage. So if you want to see the raw, uncut footage of the trip, please consider supporting me on Patreon using the link in my bio.
So that still stands, by the way. If you do want to see the uncut footage, do check out my Patreon. But that is the whole video. So what I did to finish up was I reused some shots from earlier in the video, just like a sort of highlight reel of the
or just shy of 10
of the video.
Miles. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. This project was even bigger and more ambitious than Stanage Edge, and I actually captured almost an hour of footage. So if you want to see the raw, uncut footage of the trip, please consider supporting me on Patreon using the link in my bio.
So yeah, I basically just picked out the best shots from throughout the video to put at the end there, just so that I could voice over that bit. And then one final shot, if it will play.
Until next time, bye-bye.
I thought this was a really nice shot to end on with the war memorial. The last video I ended at the bus stop, but I didn't want to end this video on the same shot, so I thought I'd get some footage of the war memorial and use that as the closing shot instead. And I think it really works. This is such a beautiful shot. You know, you've got people in the background just going about their day. You've got the birds singing. You got the clouds rolling by slowly. I really do think a fantastic shot to end the video on.
Until next time, bye-bye.
Really, really happy with how that turned out. And that is the end. That's the end of the video. The video was only 20 minutes long, but I managed to talk about it for 2.5 hours. So thank you everyone so much for joining me for this stream. I really do hope you've enjoyed learning more about the video. Like I say, what I really wanted to do was that there was just so much stuff that didn't make it into the video. And I wanted to still be able to talk about it. You know, all of that stuff that didn't get in, I wanted to still be able to say, here's what I wanted to do, but I didn't have time. So now you've heard it. Now you've heard about all the stuff that didn't make the final cut. I really do hope that you've enjoyed. Like I say, please do go and give the actual video some love as well. My last Peak District video went absolutely massive. I think right now it's got just under 300,000 views, which is absolutely insane. And it would be really amazing if this video got to the same level. So please do go and check out the actual video. Do like it, share it, and repost it. Again, I don't normally ask people to repost my videos, but please repost this one, because I really, really want this one to do well. So much time and passion went into this video. It's, you know, it's 20 minutes of love. You know, well, it's not. The video's 20 minutes, but the amount of energy and passion that went into it took so much. I'm so genuinely proud of this video, and it would just it'd just be a real shame if it didn't get the views that I humbly believe it deserves. So please do go and check it out. Please check out the video, share it, repost it, help me to get it to the level of views that the previous one did, because the previous one went absolutely massive. But there's really not much else for me to say. Like I say, I've basically taken a 20-minute video and turned it into a 2.5 hour stream. So I think the less said at this point, the better. So I am gonna start to just wrap things up. Let me switch over to my big camera for a minute and do the same on OBS. Okay, there we go. So, let me just bring in some music here. Oh, if you'll allow me to. Okay, there we go. So yeah, thank you for joining. I've had a lot of fun today. It's been a fun stream. It's been very interesting, very unusual. I've never done a stream reacting to my own video before. Well, not reacting, but like commentating on my own video before. It was very fun, very interesting. I've got really badly chapped lips. Sorry. I just noticed how chapped they are. Damn, this side especially. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching. I've really loved doing this stream. Hopefully you've enjoyed hearing about the sort of behind the scenes of the video. Once again, please do go and give the original video some love. It would be really, it would just mean so much to me if that video can achieve the level of success that the first one did. You know, that would just, you know, be really nice. especially considering how much effort went into making it. Thank you, by the way, Dre Dog, for the flame hearts, and Diet Cock for the rose. Very kind of you both. And also, before I go, I just want to say thank you again for 6,000 followers. I didn't really mention it at the start of the stream, but we have hit 6k. It's a huge milestone for me. It's taken a while for us to get from 5 to 6, but I'm so happy we're here. We finally conquered that summit, and yeah, let's keep on going. Let's set our sights on 7k. Hopefully it won't take as long to get to 7k as it took to get to 6k. If I keep at it, keep producing the level of content that I've been producing these last couple of months, I'm hoping it won't take us too long to get to 7k. But that's all from me for today. Thank you very, very much for joining me today, everyone. It's been very nice having you here. One more time, just to reiterate, please go to the original Peak District video, the one that I uploaded yesterday. Give it some love, share it, repost it, like it, leave a comment if you like. It would mean so much to me if you could help me to get this video off the ground. In the meantime, if you haven't followed but you have enjoyed, then please do, and if you want to support me financially, please consider checking out my Patreon. Huge thanks to Kate, Sophie, Jess and Daniel for supporting me over there. It costs £1 a month and you get access to behind the scenes content as well as getting your name on this board. And again, the uncut version of the Peak District video and the uncut version of the previous Peak District video are both on the Patreon as well. So if you want to see those, please do consider checking that out. That's going to be all from me for today, so thank you all once again for watching. I'm not 100% sure when the next live stream is going to be. I will definitely be doing more Minecraft on Monday, but I don't know if there's going to be another stream before then. We'll see what happens. In terms of videos, I have a video in mind, a piano video, but I don't know if it's going to be ready to be posted this week. I'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, like I say, follow to keep up to date with when I post and stuff like that. Join the Discord if you want to keep up to date with that kind of stuff as well. And, you know, all the usual social media, the links are all in my bio. You know the drill. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining me today. It's been a good stream. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I hope you have too. And I will see you all whenever the next video or live stream happens to be. Bye bye. And if you're watching over on YouTube,